Welcome back to Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Last time, Micaiah and the Dawn Brigade joined the war on the side of the Benyon army for some reason. Now we're going to be switching back and seeing just how the Grail mercenaries and the Galleons react to this.
The Dayan army takes to the field and deals a heavy blow to the army of the Laguz alliance. This sudden aggression shocks the alliance like a lightning bolt on a clear day. With their only avenue of retreat blocked, the forces of the Laguz alliance begin to despair. As the last shred of hope is fading, Skrimir appears before his troops and rallies them on, bolstering their failing strength. Galleon morale is further improved by the appearance of Tibarn and Ike's forces, who aid the Beast Army with talon and steel.
Yeah, if you thought this war was going badly for us before, it's just got even worse. We're in a really bad position right now. We're seeing a lot of scenes that take place at night on the Raban River. But we're finally back here, poring over our maps. Yeah, unexpected and doesn't make any sense. Randolph is figuring this out. Just hope Micaiah does too. Obviously there's something wrong here. And the fact that we also have healing staves on hand. According to that extended script dialogue, healing staves don't restore the fatigue that comes with being wounded, they just restore the wounds themselves. So that explains why someone can get healed with staves, but still be out of action for a bit, at least from a story standpoint. From a gameplay perspective, the whole fatigue thing doesn't really come into play at all. Yeah, we need to avoid the Central Army, obviously, because they have Zelgius, and if we get caught between the, well, just like Path of Radiance, the pursuit and the ambush, that will be the end of us all. Soren's obviously done his research. I think that's the first time Micaiah has ever been directly named outside of Part 1, because she was never referred to by name in Part 2. And I really like the perspective that we get of Micaiah here. I find this really interesting, especially what happens right now. It's amazing just how sinister they make Micaiah look here. It's one of the things I definitely cited in the video on why I don't feel she's a Mary Sue, because she has enemies who have very good reasons to be against her, and have very good reasons to suspect her, and the people who do find her suspicious are never really vilified for it. We're really just two sides of a war, we're each fighting for what we believe in, and at this point we're really just fighting to survive. This is interesting though, a bit more of the whole politics behind the war. So what Soren's saying is, what we tried before might work again, because these people don't know about our tactics. Though I find this line from Ranulph a little bit funny from a gameplay standpoint because, yeah, we didn't have Fire Mage or Ballistae, but we did have Beast Foe, and that's pretty much all we needed. We also had Beast Killers, so actually we were a little prepared. So once again, the Grell Mercenaries are on decoy duty. However, and I also really like this line from Ranulph, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. But also, this isn't like that guerrilla operation we did before. We're not just doing an infiltration here, we're actually going to be hitting Micaiah's main force head on. And Tibarn really means it when he says this. We'll find out why once we start the actual chapter. It's interesting because this line reminds me of, there've actually been some real battles that the Australian army has been involved in that went like this. They lost pretty badly, but they did manage to retreat fairly effectively. And rallying the spirits of everyone. Let's go, but it's still a little awkward because we're going to be fighting our own player characters again, though this time from the opposite side. So there's only one info conversation here, and this is a weird one. I always thought this was in 3.4 or 3.5, but no, it's not until 3.7, so yeah, this one. This will be, I think, the last we ever hear of Lyra and Keisha in the entire story. This conversation's pretty funny, though. So basically, Ranulph has two subordinates, both of whom are heavily implied to be in love with him, and he is completely oblivious. Admittedly, she does need all the help she can get, but it's not like she can really make good use of it. It's kind of interesting, Keisha does talk very overly politely in this conversation, but some of Keisha's dialogue I can see as being feminine sounding, even in the English version, at least in this scene. So yeah, Lyra is completely obsessed with Ranulph. And literal catfight begins. And Ranulph is still surrounded by idiots. So, the Howl Scroll. We had that back in part 1 on Volug, but we can give it, I guess we could give it to Ranulph now if we wanted. Now let's do the thing that I like to do second in bases, is to check the bargains, and there's really not that much. We do have an extra Quick Claw Scroll. Not really sure I should be spending money on this though, because if I really wanted to use this on Ranulph, I could just take Keisha's, and I wouldn't really be losing much from that. And it's not like I have really that much to gain from having two Quick Claw Scrolls. I kind of like the idea of having this on Ranulph, because it might be decent in this chapter. We also have more Olivia Grass to buy, but I think we already have quite a bit of it. And a Rolf's Bow. So Rolf obviously has been building bows and selling them to Aimee, just like Shinnon was. But his bows are always second best, just like him in this playthrough, which is sad. Oh, hey, they're selling bronze weapons again. Someone pointed out that they weren't selling bronze weapons in one of the earlier chapters. And still, they have mostly the same kind of stuff here. Not really all that much that's different. However, if you don't have any wind edges now, you might want to buy at least one. Either that, or, this was also suggested to me in comments, a Specter Card. The Specter Card is technically the most risk-free method of doing what needs to be done in this chapter. It's an optional objective, but if you're on a second playthrough, you will need to do it. And I'll be explaining what that is actually in this part, because let's just say the actual chapter itself is going to be pretty long, and I want to save as much time by explaining everything on the preparation screen during the A part this time. So, normally, yeah, that is one of the most risk-free methods of doing it. Personally, I really like to use Wind Edges, because it lets you lure in... Basically, Ike needs to fight a certain enemy in this chapter, and you can probably guess who it is. And knowing who it is, you can probably guess why Ike needs to do it from range. There's a very good reason he needs to do it from range. You do not want to attack this enemy in close combat at all. Now, I like Wind Edges because it lets you lure in this enemy and have them attack you on the enemy phase. The problem is Ike still risks getting criticaled, which will obviously spell death for him. However, you can use a magic card, and that means you don't get counterattacked at all. But that requires you to be the one initiating the attack, and that means you either need to wait a few more turns, or you need to get Ike in really, really close, and then you need to have an exit strategy, because once Ike actually does attack with the card, you probably need to rescue him with a flyer and run, because on the enemy phase, this enemy will try and attack Ike in melee, and then he's probably dead, so... Anyway, oh, also, Ike needs to have at least 27 speed. If you have transfer bonuses on Ike, this is very easy, but if not, this can be a little bit difficult. Hopefully, Ike's capped a lot of stats by now, and you can bonus experience his speed up a bit. Because yes, he needs to have at least 27, or he's gonna get doubled. So that's that. Now, the other thing is remember how ages ago, also need to remember to use that energy drop on someone. Remember how ages ago I mentioned that I made an effort to transfer Meteor onto the Grail Mercenary so that Soren could take it? I'm going to be using Meteor in this chapter. If you're on a second playthrough and you're concerned with unlocking one of the secret epilogue scenes, you need to have Soren fight a certain enemy on this map during this chapter, and Meteor is by far the easiest way for Soren to do that. So I'm going to be giving Soren Meteor, and I need to use it once here. But I also need to remember, I need to conserve the use of Meteor for 3 endgame as well. For much the same reason as I'm using it now. Anyway, in terms of items, Titania can probably do with a few more weapons now. Let's see, another steel axe, and I am running a little low on hand axes. Does anyone else need hand axes? I think for now, Gatry... Oh, actually, Gatry is not really that good with ranged weapons. One thing about this chapter is that, let me just check something. I've got a bunch of javelins. You know what, I just realized something. Maybe I should make a forged lance. I haven't forged something in a while. Oh, hey, we can finally forge javelins now. Unfortunately, I don't think you can ever forge wind edges, which is a shame. But we can, of course, finally forge javelins, I believe. No, not hand axes. Can't even forge throwing knives yet. You can forge all 3 forms. So that's weird. We can forge javelins, but nothing else in the range department. I kind of wanted to make a forged steel lance anyway. It's kind of like a much better Great Lance. Mostly because I want an excuse to use my coins. I guess I can make it blue. So, coin time. Okay, the goddess is on there, but the chance of me actually getting the goddess is literally 1%, so I don't think I'll get it, obviously. Nope, the arrow. That's plus 10 hit, which is not the best, but not the worst either. I almost wonder if it would be interesting if you could actually use multiple coins on a single forged weapon. That would be interesting, but it has the potential to be really broken. It could be like a double or nothing thing. Like, you can use multiple coins, but if you ever get a nothing, it erases all your boosts. That might be a nice risk versus reward element, but anyway. What do I call this? I'm half tempted to call it Dauntless Lance, although I don't actually think that'll fit. But, because yeah, the Dauntless Lance is entirely exclusive to heroes, but, yeah, definitely not going to be able to fit Dauntless Lance, but I can fit Dauntless itself. That's going to be my substitute for giving Gatry a Steel Lance. Yeah, 14. Yeah, 1 better. I'll be using that for the time being. And anything else? Okay, so, in this chapter, where are you? So, Rolf. We need to talk about Rolf a little bit. Rolf has not been doing that well. Not been doing that well at all. The main point of using Rolf is that he'll usually have better strength than Shinnen by this point, but he doesn't. And as you can see, Shinnen's got very, very good stats, and he's been doing pretty well for me in this playthrough. A lot of people have recommended that I just drop Rolf, because I've been getting too RNG screwed with him, and I have actually been dragging chapters down trying to train him, which doesn't make for good videos, and I'm sorry for that. So, this chapter is going to be the breaking point, the decider. If Rolf doesn't really, really prove himself in this chapter, I am switching over to Shinnon, because I really want to show third-tier snipers in this game, because they're amazing. So, Rolf has one last chance. I'm going to go ahead and trade the Silencer over to Shinnon. I will be using both of them in this chapter, and if Rolf does not prove himself, then he is out. I'm so sorry, Rolf, but that decision needs to be made. As for other people, Soren's totally fine on tomes. I think everyone else is. You might want a lot of weapons in this chapter, because this chapter is a defend map, but you have no choice but to wait out the time limit, and it's 12 turns, so you might end up running through a lot of weapon uses here. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and maybe give Gatry the short spear. Let's see, probably don't need that. Let's go ahead and take the short spear. And who gets the energy? Well, I mean, I kind of need to use the energy drop on Rolf, but it feels a little bit weird to be forced to use that just to compensate for someone's flaws. But if I use it on Titania, she'll only gain 1 point. Haar's already capped. Using it on Ranulph is not bad, because I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but stat boosters on Laguz essentially count for double, because, yeah, you'll get double stats on transformation. Also, I forgot to describe what this is. The Satori Sign, it's basically the occult from the last game. Laguz don't promote to 3rd tier, so in order to learn their mastery skills, they have to be level 30 or higher, and you need to use a Satori Sign. Personally, I end up with way more of these than I really know what to do with, because all the Royals already start with their mastery skills, and so the only Laguz that you need to use Satori Signs on are the non-Royals, and there's very, very few non-Royal Laguz who are even worth using Satori Signs on. And unfortunately, you can't sell these, so they're not even worth gold if you don't have any recipients for them, which is a shame. Anyway, how's Haar doing? I think Haar's fine for weapons, although, I might give Haar the extra hand axe. So I think this should be okay. Nia is... Do I have any better swords at all? I should probably forge a sword for her now when I think about it. She does not have any wind edges left. Obviously, she's going to take a wind edge, because she needs one of those. Also, there's something that I might want to do with Mia in this chapter. Hint, hint. Okay, with that, I think I can go to... Let me see if there's... Okay, Ike and Soren have raised their support level, which is good. Yeah, that evasion gets really, really high at higher ranks. Thank you, Earth Support. Unfortunately, Mist and Boyd don't have an A yet. The moment they get to an A, I'm dropping Boyd, but I really need to get them to an A for a base compensation. Oh, hey, these two can raise their support rank, which is kind of nice. And everyone else is fine. I'm surprised Ranulph can't... Oh, well, he's only really been in 1 chapter. Okay, so award experience. Obviously, Ike is getting another level up, because this is the best way for him to get stats. Definitely luck. I want as much luck on him as I want. I'm now kind of regretting selling some of my Goddess icons or Ashera icons in this game, because if he had a bit more luck, maybe he wouldn't have any risk of getting criticals. Also, Gatry has literally capped everything but 3 stats, so now with bonus experience, he's only gaining magic, luck, and resistance. Absolutely guaranteed. Now, is there anyone else that I could... You know what? I'm going to level up Nephany. But I'm going to leave her like this, because at this point, there's no downside to getting her the rest of this level up during the chapter. So Nephany might even be hitting 3rd tier during this map, which would actually be pretty cool. I don't need to be shy about using her now, because I don't need to worry about her getting better stats through bonus experience. Speaking of which, might as well. Definitely getting some really high defense thanks to bonus experience, but I will be bonus experiencing Edward up once he's capped skill and speed. And I might as well give Hara... That's actually quite a lot of bonus experience. I probably shouldn't have done that. Well, at least that's more speed. It's not quite capped speed by a long shot, but it's still decent speed. At least by his standards. And now, let me try something. Oh, I can't give Rolf 99. I was going to want to put Rolf to 99. Yeah, I feel really stupid that I haven't considered doing that before. I was like, oh yeah, bonus experience. All you do with it is level up people. You can't just send their experience. Yeah, I was dumb. Please forgive me for that. I really should have been setting Rolf's experience to 99 at the start of every chapter so that I could level him up thanks to Blossom. But yeah, I think I spent way too much on Har there, but probably fine. Okay, skills though. I am going to remove corrosion. There's a reason for that. We are going to be fighting our own party members in this chapter, and as such, I don't want to risk breaking any of their weapons, because that would be really annoying. If I get really unlucky, for example, I might end up breaking Kaladbolg or Tarvos. Obviously, I don't want that, so I'm removing corrosion. And now, what other skills do I have? Well, all I have for now is corrosion, but let me see something. Keisha, I'm so sorry. Goodbye, Quick Claw. And you're taking Quick Claw. That actually consumes a lot of your capacity. Oh yeah, something that I haven't mentioned yet is that Lagoos, their gauge upgrades as they gain levels. So, by the time they're in the higher levels, which I believe is 30 to 40, their capacity is around the same as Bjork 3rd tiers. Except they're not forced to use their mastery skills, so... In fact, I think they get even more capacity. Some of the Royals have around 100 capacity later on in the game. I think I still want Nullify on Har. I still want these skills on Mia. And I wish I had a skill for Gatry here. A lot of people say Corrosion is really good on Shinnen. You know what? Now that I think about it, I should probably give Gatry Provoke. But, Shinnen... Yeah, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give Provoke to Gatry. And yeah, Rolf still has Blossom. You still have Counter. I could give that to someone else. Cancel on you might not really be the best idea. It hasn't really helped me that much, but maybe I should... And cancel some capacity. I just had an idea. Now, I need to... I hope that facepalm picked up on camera, because it only just occurred to me. Oh, right. The person that I need Ike to fight in this chapter has Nile, so cancel won't work anyway. Not doing that. Actually, Raisin still have Celerity, doesn't he? I might not even need Celerity here, and I kind of want that on Soren. Because Soren has not fought very much since he got to 3rd tier, and I want to rectify that. So Soren's getting Celerity for now, and as such, let's see. Cancel on Raisin. Yeah, I think maybe, I'll give Cancel to... I mean, Geisha doesn't really like cancelling counterattacks. And Disarm is already basically Cancel. I could give this to Mia, but it would make a certain fight I plan on doing with her even more one-sided. Rolf can't use it. Why not? Shinnen, you take Cancel. I might give Shinnen or Rolf Corrosion later, but not now. Definitely don't want to risk running out the capacity. I definitely don't want to risk breaking any of my own weapons. So I think that should be just about everything. Oh, obviously I want to get rid of that. So let's move out. And suddenly the Dayan army has a lot of characters on their side, and yep, as you can see, there is Edward, and there's Meg and Fiona, and they all have that red bar, which means they are our enemies now. No, it isn't, especially since I'm controlling them. I feel really bad for them now. Obviously, we need intel on who we're up against. Although this isn't really we're talking about. So in other words, Soph basically thinks Ike is a Gary Stu. And once again, Micaiah being a Camus archetype and being kinda stupid in blindly following someone who obviously is not a good leader and is definitely not in the right here. Yeah, see, this is something that a lot of players voice too, so I'm glad the characters in universe even realized this. I guess we can finally beat some sense into her, hopefully. Yes, yes they are. And on that note, we go to the preparation screen. We only have 10 deployment slots here, though. And yeah, I'm actually going to be covering all of my pre-battle stuff in this part, because next time I've got a lot to talk about, and it's going to be a very long chapter. I just want that part to be purely the battle itself. There's also going to be 2 bios I have to do, and I have to talk about a major plot point that got changed in the localization, so yeah, I'm going to be busy in the next part, so I'm going to get everything I want to get pre-battle out of the way right now. So, obviously no Mordecai or Leth. Who do I want here? I definitely want Mia, Nethany. I also want Har and Rayson. You actually really, really want Rayson here, so yeah, this is getting really tight, actually. Oh, if I had a choice, I'd kick out Boyd. I really would kick out Boyd. And I want to remove Miss because she's my only healer. Maybe I don't need Har in this one. Although I usually like to have Har 3rd tier before the next chapter. Huh, yeah, you do not have many deployment slots here. I forgot how limited you were, and in fact I was also planning on using Shinnen. Yeah, it's about now that you really need to start thinking about the Grail mercenaries that you want to take to endgame, because you don't have a lot of room to bring everyone. You know, Titania might not really be... I mean, she's useful, but there are other people that I want to bring here. I definitely want Shinnen and Rolf to compete a little bit. You know what? How about I make this chapter Rolf's last chance? Because if Shinnen doesn't participate in this chapter, he'll still be decent. So, yeah, Rolf, this is your last chance. If you can't prove that you're at least capable of taking on Shinnen in this chapter, I'm gonna have to drop you. So, I gotta make this count. So, Rolf's gone, and that means I'm gonna go ahead and bring Har, just because him being a flyer is actually really, really useful here, even though we will be getting some flyers of our own later. Remember how Tiban said we'd be getting reinforcements from him? So anyway, repositioning. And yeah, I really want to kick out Boyd, but unfortunately, hopefully he and Miss will hit an A soon. Okay. Probably want Gage to go forward. We do have Lancers in the front, so I will want an Axe user to lead the charge, most likely. We'll be facing quite a few different types of enemies, but okay, so let's go over the main threat of this chapter. Well, threat, quote-unquote, it actually depends on how you've trained them. Zihak is here. So, chances are you will end up having to fight Zihak at some point during this chapter. And depending on how you've trained him, Zihak might be a very dangerous obstacle to overcome. Especially if you gave him Paragon in Part 1. If you're really, really concerned about Zihak, you can have Ranulf fight him. Zihak will not counterattack Ranulf, so you can easily take him out of the fight that way. Oh yeah, and just like Leth in the last chapter, if any of the Dawn Brigade are defeated here, don't worry, they're not dead. You can also talk to Zihak with Leth or Mordecai, and that will recruit him to the Grail Mercenaries. The conversation is exactly the same as it is in 3.6, so I don't feel the need to show it. But most people recommend you keep Zihak with the Dawn Brigade, because obviously, yeah, they need all the help they can get. Speaking of which, so we don't need to have Zihak here, we also have Jill. Jill, like Zihak, can be convinced to join the Grail Mercenaries. Har can always recruit her, but if she had an A support with Leth or Mist in Path of Radiance and you transferred that file, those two can also talk to Jill to recruit her. So for example, in my file, I can actually talk to her with Leth. In fact, I may want to show that in bonus footage because it's actually something special that I might not have been able to show before. But Har can always talk to Jill. Thing is, most people recommend that you definitely do not do this. The Dawn Brigade really, really, really needs Jill going forward. And the Grail Mercenaries already have Har. One Wyvern Lord is enough for the Grail Mercenaries, you really don't need two. But if you want to, you do have that option, and it's also a way to transfer items over to the Grail Mercenaries if you really want to. So Jill is there, but where are the other members of the Dawn Brigade? Well, Aaron and Nolan are here. Again, their threat level depends entirely on how much you've trained them. If you haven't promoted Aaron, he is totally pathetic here. Nolan, again, like if you haven't trained him very much, he might not be that much of a threat. You'll also need to be careful about him wasting Tarvos, though you can provoke him into using a hand axe if you have any hand axes on him. However, these two are right on the middle of this little island that's out in the middle of nowhere and really only realistically accessible by flyers. So you can totally ignore these two. Fighting them is entirely optional. These Wyvern Lords do have a tendency to be really annoying though. There are also a few mages over here, which can be an issue for Har. The rest of the Dawn Brigade, we have Fiona and Meg here. Neither of them can really go into the water, so the chances of you actually needing to deal with them are very, very low. We also have Leonardo over here. Edward starts reasonably close to this shore, but like I said, you don't have to go all the way down here, but if you do, you may end up having to deal with him, and if he's trained, he can be a bit of a threat, especially in the English version, thanks to Collat Bowl. We also have Soft down here. He's really not that much of an issue. Micaiah is the boss, and this chapter won't end if she is defeated. Now, actually, no, wait, I'll cover that later. We have Laura down here. You might want to make sure that not that many people are wounded, because if they are, they'll run back and have Laura heal them, and that'll waste uses of her staves, which is annoying. Also, Volg's down here, and given the chance, he'll probably end up half-shifting. Half-shifted Volg's not that hard to deal with. What is hard to deal with is, yep, guess who's with the enemy? The Black Knight. Finally, he is an antagonist for us to fight, though fighting him is completely optional. But remember how I said all the way back in one endgame that one of the conditions to unlock the second playthrough exclusive character is to have the Black Knight deployed in that chapter. That's by far the easiest condition. The second step is to have Ike fight the Black Knight in this chapter. So, this is what I wanted the Wind Edge for. Eventually, and I do mean very, very eventually, like in the later turns, the Black Knight will start moving. He only moves towards you 2 spaces per turn. But once he starts moving, I'm going to want to put Ike with a Wind Edge around here to try and lure him in and have the Black Knight fight him. Like I said in the base, using a magic card is easier because it means that he doesn't get counterattacked and thus doesn't risk a critical. And yeah, if Ike has less than 27 speed, he will get doubled by the Black Knight and thus he will probably die. So you will need at least 27 speed on Ike for this. I prefer the Wind Edge because it lets me do it on the enemy phase, which makes getting away from the Black Knight much, much easier. But anyway, if you feel more comfortable with avoiding counterattacks with a magic card, do that by all means. You will probably need to rescue Ike with an air unit afterwards, because then the Black Knight will attack you on his face. And yeah, by the way, the reason why you don't want the Black Knight to attack you in melee is this. Nothing in the game can survive Eclipse, including Ike, so if the Black Knight attacks you in melee and activates this, Ike is dead. Instant game over. So that's why you want to attack him from range or with a magic card. So, one more thing to mention is, this map is actually the same map as the last one, just expanded a little bit and with no fog, which is kind of nice to know. Yeah, this area right here is where we found the Brave Bow, which Leonardo has, but hilariously can't use. So, that's pretty much everything that I want to cover. Oh, except for one thing. So I mentioned that Jill has people who can talk to her if she has transfer bonuses. Zeark is the same. Leth and Mordecai can always recruit Zeark, but Ileana or Brom can also do it if they had an A support with him in Path of Radiance. And I guess one final thing while I'm here. I want to go ahead and list the pacifism data of every playable character who's going to be our enemy here. Most of them are fairly obvious, like Zeark won't attack Leth, Mordecai, or Ranulf, and Jill won't attack Leth or Har, but some of them are a little interesting. So I'll just list these on screen right now. So with that, next time, we're going to begin the clash of rivals. Who will come out on top, Ike or Micaiah? The Radiant Hero or the Maiden of Dawn? Let's do this. I mean, technically Ike isn't the Radiant Hero yet, but you get the idea.